Hello and welcome once again to Ignite Your Impact. My name is Jen Rhodes. I am seated next to Mr. Matt Rhodes.
Good morning, everyone.
It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
I don't know if I'd say that. I'm looking out my window and I see a shitload of snow.
It's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold. How about we heat things up?
Let's jump right in. I love that. I think we are going to heat some things up because today is going to be super impactful for everyone, or at least it's going to make everyone kind of sit back and think. Whatever your goals are, whatever you want to do, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to face your inhibitions. And I can promise you that if there's certain areas of your life that you're not happy with, let me restate that. You're probably happy in a lot of areas, but if there's areas in your life that you're not like, fuck yes, things are good, it's because you are not facing inhibitions in some of those areas.
So Matt's coming right out of the gate swinging. So, but I like it. You're right on point, and I want to add to that here in a little bit, but you're on a roll. Go.
Yeah. So if you look up the definition of inhibitions, you're going to get something like a feeling of an embarrassment or worry that prevents you from saying or doing something. And that's what the definition of inhibitions is. And when we were prepping for this episode, I was looking at this and I realized that this almost hits all my core values, at least maybe 2.5 out of my 5 core values it hits. My core values are a combination of things that I hold dear, that go deep into my soul. But also there's areas that I've adopted because I knew that I needed them. I needed to be successful in those areas, so I needed to make them a core value of something that I believed in. And when I sat down a few years ago and did that exercise and really came up with those 5 that I look at daily, I realized that these were things that were actually holding me back, that I needed to have in my life. But more importantly, there were things deep down below that main layer that I wanted. There were inhibitions, but I wanted them really bad, but I was afraid of it. And that's kind of what we're going to talk through today. One of them, like, be uniquely me 100% of the time without fear of judgment or failure.
Yeah. I could add so much already. To go with what you just shared, some of them were inhibitions that not only something that you needed to face, but something that you needed to conquer. And I like that you put it as part of your core values as almost a stretch goal.
Yes.
Like you look at it daily to recalibrate.
Yep.
So I would like to dive into a few areas, if I may steal the microphone.
Go right ahead.
And anybody listening, if you're at the gym, if you're walking the dog, you need to be inside because it's too cold. Wherever you're at, listening to one or all of these areas, at some point you're going to say, yep, nailed it, that's me. I would say we have a very specific audience that listens to us. You are driven. We can already come out speaking our language because it appeals to you. You don't hold back in certain areas. You do crave success. You do want those stretch goals. Because as I go through here, if I was stating this to any of the general population, there would be a good portion that wouldn't feel anything. Because not only are they living in the average, they've accepted the average as life. And they don't think they need to get better. Scratch. They don't think they need to evolve.
But even with that, I think we're going to stretch our audience today. So let's start with one that everyone can relate to. Money.
Yeah, before you jump into money, what would you say for the person that says that they're not that motivated by money?
Good question. One, I don't understand it, but no, I think that. Well, I think the way I would answer that question is one, you're either lying, or you have the wrong concept of money. If it's the lying part, it's because you're scared to admit that you want money.
One of those inhibitions.
Yep. And the wrong concept, meaning Maybe you know someone with a lot of money and they're an asshole, and that's what you relate to it. Or you just don't understand that money is just energy to do many things. Maybe when you hear money, all you think of is nice cars and nice houses, but looking at it as energy, what can you do with money? All the good things you can do for your family and your society, but also that freedom that money can give you, to do what you want when you want to do it. Again, remember, money is just energy, but how much money do you want? And that's a question. I want everyone listening right now, put a number in your head that you could open up and see in your bank account in the morning. Just put a number in there. What would that be? I think everyone's got a number.
Double it.
Okay, how about this? How about fuck you money? How would that feel? Right now, opening up your checking account and saying fuck you money. Okay, now I want to go back to right when I said that. I'm guessing a good amount of people listening had a really good thought in their mind when they thought about that money. Then they immediately said, yeah, but I really don't need that. Or really, that's out of reach for me. You may have an inhibition against money. That's all good. Nothing wrong with that. You just may need to face the inhibitions that you feel about money and how you look at that. You might care what other people think, like I said before. Or you could associate money with time, meaning if I'm going to have that kind of money, I got to spend a bunch of time to make it. It's going to take forever. I'll be away from my family and all these negative things that come around money. It could be other things. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's just stories that you've been taught from your family, you've been taught from social media, you've been taught from friends, etc. And that's all that is. And when you start to face those inhibitions with money, the energy starts flowing. When you start to go after those, you can feel the energy, that money energy starts flowing in your favor.
I had a funny thought just pop in my head. I saw one of my friends on Facebook ask just a question to gauge engagement on her page and said, what would you do if you found out your best friend lived and died by Dave Ramsey? And it caught me funny because I know what I would do, but those types of lessons,
yep,
right? Like what's been baked into your head intentionally or unintentionally around money. I will say also, when you were presented with that question, how about fuck you money? You perked up like, yeah, yes, I'm driven by that. I not so much until I went back to a story I could tie it to. I'll get to that in a minute too. I've also been challenged with, what if you had Oprah money? What kind of impact would you make on your legacy? And that pulls me through that exercise. Because we both had very different ideas of money, much tied around effort and yep, time and sacrifice.
Yep. And that's why you got to face that inhibition, those thoughts and those feelings that you have towards money. You got to face that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll always be in the same place.
Who do you hear when you say those things about money?
Yep.
It's not a bad thing. That's their story. It's not yours. Now, how about this? We're going to go through another exercise that our coaches put us through that pushed me very quickly through. How about influence? Now, I'm not saying be an influencer. It's almost a bad word in my lexicon. I'm saying being a person of influence. Two totally different things. Now, if you follow us, you see how very active Matt and I are on social media. One of our neighbors was joking with us like, hey, you guys should get on social media. You guys should start doing a podcast. You guys have a beautiful voice. You'd make so much impact. I'm like, thanks.
He obviously was joking because we're all over social media, but yes.
But we know that we are influencing, but we are not influencers. I want to be a person of influence. I want to use my platform to help shift your behavior. I don't need you watching me 24/7 to validate me. I want my lessons to reverberate into your world. And that's how I would gauge my influence. So what comes to mind when you ask if you want to be a person of influence? I don't know if you just saw my physiology. I sat up. That's fuck you money to me. That being a person of influence, that positive ripple effect, massive ripples. For some of you, it feels really good for a few seconds. And then it sets in that fear, that inhibition. How could I influence? How can I make that impact? I would feel like an absolute imposter. You have an inhibition to be your authentic self. And I will add, you are robbing the world of your gifts. You will have to pick a side on a few topics. It doesn't mean we have to sit here and debate, but I know where I stand on a few key issues, while providing a positive influence on some that could upset people that you value. Maybe parents, maybe your neighbors, maybe my neighbor, maybe a friend, maybe elders, maybe mentors. That might scare you. Go back to the definition of inhibitions that Matt stated earlier.
A feeling of embarrassment or worry that prevents you from saying or doing what you want to do. It's exactly what you just described.
What you're holding back is going to hold you back. I want that to sit for just a second. Now let's jump into body image. I want you to just picture with me right now. Having everyone look at you as you walk through the grocery store or the airport, because it is clear that you take care of yourself and you take pride in taking care of yourself. You glow. You have strong features. You look strong. Hell, I've had a woman grab my arm at an event, like, damn girl, do you lift? I'm like, ow, yeah, I do. Stop. You want people to notice you. For my girls, that's those sexy legs, those banging arms we talk about, and maybe even some abs, because they can see, because you're wearing clothing that allows it to be seen. For my guys, it's that V shape, that cut, right? That inverted triangle physique. That chest that just pops so that everybody knows you're jacked underneath that shirt. You could see it. Feels good. But then you may have gone right back to, yeah, but I've tried that before and I failed. Or I did that and it was a nightmare in my 20s. I'll never get back there. I'm over 45. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. My body's not going to get back to that. Or I'm a 50-year-old corporate guy. That is out of my reach. I don't need that.
The inhibitions are getting in your way of all those things. And at the end of the day, if you want it, but you're scared to go after it. It's an inhibition thing.
And we all have inhibitions we're trying to overcome.
Yeah.
Myself included. Matt, everyone. It's okay. We can have that human experience. But you need to recognize them. Didn't say we have to solve them all today, but maybe we jot them down. What are you holding back? There are so many different ways to tackle these, but I would like to jump into one that we have done personally so that we can share how we overcame. And Matt, what was the one that you used?
Yeah, I mean, like Jen said, there's a lot of ways that you can look at where maybe inhibitions are holding you back. One that I did was, it took a lot of deep thought, but that's being that authentic person. That's the one I'm going to describe here. And if this relates to anyone listening right now, listen closely to what I did. If you're scared to be that influence person or be authentically about what you really want, whether it's a 6-pack or money or whatever it is, this is the exercise that I did, along with other ones, but this is one that you can do. I went back out and I listed moments from my childhood, and I did them based on school years, so it was easy to recollect. So I went to grade school, then I did middle school, and then I did high school, and I just kind of put those 3 topics at the top. And I listed every memory or incident, bad or good, that I could remember that I hid myself, my true self. Just every little incident that I knew that I wasn't being my authentic self, either out of fear or even because maybe I was rewarded to be in the shadows. And I just listed them all out.
I would also add your first few years in corporate America.
Yeah,
there was many learnings that came out of that.
Yeah. A lot of them, good, bad, and indifferent.
Like not negative, but learnings.
But so I listed all those out, just all those little memories and incidents that went through from little things in grade school and really in middle school and high school. And as I did that, and I think anyone who does that will start to connect the dots. And there's going to be a few learnings from that where you look back and say, I was not my authentic self in that situation, and what happened because of it. So you either, one learning is you either exemplify your elders, which could be coaches or mentors at that age, or maybe it's your parents or whatever it is. You either exemplify them and try and act like them, or you try and do the opposite of them based on those experiences. And this can create stories or beliefs as a child that simply are not true. But they certainly do create stories, and good or bad or indifferent, they carry into your adulthood, which become inhibitions. So the next big one, which is really cool, and I think people, if you do this exercise, you'll really relate to this, is when I examined all those little times that I was not being my authentic self, because I was scared of what my parents would think, my friends would think, my neighbors, anyone. I realized in those moments, I didn't win those moments. There was opportunities where I could have stepped up and been a leader on a sports team, and I was a little scared, so I didn't do it. And I realized that was a moment that I lost. I may have felt rewarded that I didn't embarrass myself, but I didn't win that moment. And now I regret those moments that I didn't win. My learning was that if I truly wanted to win, I had to step into my authentic self in every situation that I could and not worry about what others think. And then every once in a while, when I start to slide back into those shadows of wanting to be in the background, and I go back to that list and that memory of not winning those moments. Another way to put it, a simple one is we're all going to be dead in 100 years. No one's going to remember what you said or what you did. Just fucking say it and just do it. It's another way.
Yeah.
I just don't want regret. I want to be free. And I use that exercise to find not regrets that are holding me back today, but like, oh yeah, I could have done that differently. And I saw in each one of those moments, I was scared of how I'd be judged. And I don't want to grow old and be scared of how I was judged.
It's funny, even just you walking us through that exercise, I have a little adrenaline surge. Like I can feel my heart pounding because I can hear the lessons and the learnings, and maybe you're even thinking of some of your own, accessing some times where you may be held back and can feel kind of like that adrenaline hit. That's your body's protection mechanism because it's scared. It thinks you're in danger because it's tied around a story. Like, it was funny. You're explaining your journey, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can feel it.
But I think right now everyone can think of a time last week where you wish you would have spoken up in a meeting or in a discussion with a loved one, or you would have done something in a group of people, or you would have said something on social media or whatever it was, and you held back because you had a fear of judgment. If you do this exercise, you can tie it back. This is why you're still doing it today. You still have those inhibitions because of what you did when you were younger.
And yeah, like, wow, that's wild that I'm tying that into my physiology right now.
I hope everyone is.
I hope so too. But this is that, you said it earlier, I want to be free. That could be a physical freedom or mental freedom. Everything we have talked about, everything that you have said goes right back to the core of body image. What do you think of yourself? What do you think of your physical self, your external and your internal? I don't really need a six-pack. I just want to be healthy. I just want to be healthy for my kids. I'm busy. I'm a busy parent. I don't need to wear that bikini. That ship has sailed. Really? Again, if you know me and you say it in front of me, I call bullshit. I call absolute bullshit. Here's why. If body image was not important, Magic Mike would have never been made as a movie.
True.
Tell me I'm wrong. And that can hit both female and male psyche. Those feelings of excitement when your spouse looks at you, those things just die the minute you hit 40. Again, bullshit. We're just entering our prime. Like, I'm going to live to 120, so I'm in the first third of my life.
Well, you go back against that, we're going to be dead in 100 years, so.
Well, I've got much to do.
Okay.
I've got much to do if I'm changing the world. But those feelings don't die. That physiology does not die. You have learnings. Much like Matt outlined in his grade school, his middle school, high school, like that exercise, I'm going to go right back into the first few years of corporate America. We tied so many lessons into that, like, phew, right? Your inhibitions will inhibit your growth. And I just want you to sit with that for just a second. If you have inhibitions, it will hold you back. What you hold yourself back from will ultimately hold you back.
Say that again, because that is the key of this entire podcast. Say and everything. Say that again,
the whole
please.
Thing. Okay. In caps or italicized?
Either way works. I just want to hear it one more time.
Your inhibitions will inhibit your growth. What you hold back from, what you hold yourself back from, will ultimately hold you back.
Love that.
Maybe your parents told you to dress a certain way. Mine didn't. They gave up. I don't like pants. The end. Maybe your friends swayed you into do this, don't do that. You don't want that. That's too flashy. That's vain. You don't want that. You don't want to be like that person. Maybe social media has had some type of an influence on you and said, that's just a young kid's game. Only the little ones can do that or achieve that. Oh, she can do that because she's 23. She hasn't had kids. Tell me you haven't ran that in your head. Maybe a teacher told you you'd never amount to much. That's my fuck you money. And the minute I accessed that memory that I'd completely forgotten about, I know where my belief began. I know exactly what it's rooted in. And at the root, you're afraid of what others will say or think. Who does she think she is? Well, for me and you're a badass. That's who you are. You are a person of influence. You are here as the only version of you. There is only one you in the history of ever. Ever. Go leave your fucking mark.
I think we'll end right there. I love that.
I like it. You want to go make some fuck you money?
Let's get after it.
Guys, I hope this hit. I hope in us sharing some experiences, you are able to access some beliefs that maybe need challenged. We don't have to break them today, but let's get them on paper. Maybe we start challenging those beliefs and start evolving into who we are born to become. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with somebody. Tag us in your Instagram stories. Give us a 5-star review. That is the only way we grow this thing. Or subscribe on YouTube. And with that, everyone, we'll talk next time.